Welcome back to another episode of Alestletics. I'm your co-host, Sam Muren. Joining with me today is my co-host, Audrey O'Rennick. And today we have three very special guests from SIUE's Ultimate Frisbee Club. If you guys don't mind, would you introduce yourselves and kind of talk about what position you play or just about your team as a whole?
Yeah, my name's Dillon McGinnis. I'm mainly a cutter for SIUE. Yeah, O-line player. That's my spot.
I'm Jesse Zawitkowski. I mainly handle on D-line, and I'm also the president of the club.
Yeah, I'm Evan Driscoll. I am a captain. I handle on O-line. Dillon is also our strength and conditioning chair.
So, Audrey, you recently wrote a story about SIUE's Ultimate Frisbee. I know she reached out to you guys to kind of just talk about your guys' team. You had a bit of a uptick in a year with success, and that's pretty awesome for you guys. And I know she was really excited to talk about this.
Yeah, so SIUE Ultimate Frisbee has just boomed within the past 2 years, really, putting their name on the board. And it's kind of interesting the development that they've gone through to be able to get to this point. Now, I know, Evan, you've played for a while. Jesse and Dillon, was it? How long have you guys played Ultimate Frisbee?
I played every year in high school, and I'm going on my second year in college, so this is going to be my 6th year playing.
I started my junior year of high school, so this should be my 4th year playing now.
And what made you really stick to the sport, especially continuing into college?
Part of it's just like the community. I went to high school at EHS, and a lot of the Ultimate Frisbee players from that team also went to SIUE, so I'm playing with basically the same team I played with in high school, which is great for like chemistry. That's like the main reason I stuck with it in college is just like I already had a lot of great chemistry with the guys. I like was good friends with a lot of them.
That's pretty much the same for me. When I started up, a lot of my friends started with me also in their junior year, so it was just a lot of fun to play with them and be a part of the sport. And I just really fell in love with the sport. And yeah, the community is just really great. So wherever you go, you're gonna know people, and that just keeps you like really involved.
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm sticking around at this point because I just want to give back, especially to the kids that maybe I had the chance to play with in high school or a little younger than I am. I feel like this is my 8th or 9th year playing. I've had so many good memories, and so I want to make sure that the people that come after me also have the opportunity to make the same kind of memories that I got to make. So
How would you describe your team dynamic, and how did it shift from high school to college?
yeah, I would say in high school there was probably a little bit more inherent structure, just from the fact that there were multiple coaches. We had a JV team, we had a freshman team, and a varsity team. And so a lot of what we've been trying to do in college is kind of recreate that structure that we had in high school. And so that's been really on the backs of the players, which has been kind of an interesting experience. It's pretty cool to see a lot of our players step up in big leadership roles that, maybe even at a larger university that have more resources they can allocate towards their ultimate team. They wouldn't necessarily have to rely upon as much, student leadership. And that's been a pretty cool thing to see grow at SIUE.
Yeah, I know we were talking about before we went live, how you kind of compared yourself to the hockey team, the SIUE club hockey team, kind of being a well-organized and structured group, but that doesn't come easy. They kind of have a lot of resources allocated to them, and it's a different style sport where they need more material and funding. But I know for them, a lot of that push is led by the students. So for you guys, what is it like to be not just athletes, but also, kind of organizers for a club?
I'll go first, but I'm kind of like the least of the organizing in this group of 3 here. It's a little extra work, but I love to do it. I love to pour into the sport, and I know everyone else does. It's just kind of part of college ultimate, I guess. It's part of the culture. I'm sure a lot of other teams have to do it too, and it's just part of what you sign up to do when you join the sport for me, basically.
Dillon spent probably 30, 40 hours working on our spring season highlight film.
Yeah.
It's about 14 minutes
I saw
long.
that was
but,
cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he did a great job.
Thanks.
So you could probably edit this podcast and produce it all on his own. That's what you're saying. But yeah, I think that's really, for like D1 athletes, a lot of things kind of, I don't want to say they're handed to them, but like they have trainers, they have specific coaches, they're paid to be there.
Yeah.
Basically. And for club athletes, it's not the same. And so I think it's interesting that you guys can not only have success, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but then you also have the good leadership off the field that leads to like a successful club. What's it like just kind of balancing not only performing well, keeping the club like appearing well, but also like life in college? Because I'm sure that gets kind of jumbled together.
I mean, yeah, it's for sure a balancing act. This is my first year with like a leadership role on the team. Last year I was just like a freshman and just played on the team, which I thought that was a lot. But being president now, it's like doing stuff behind the scenes while also still trying to like fit in training. And I have had the luxury of not having to deal with school during that yet. But that's going to add, like, another thing that is, like, another thing to balance. It's for sure difficult, but, like, loving the sport and, like, being able to see the club be successful definitely makes it worth it, so.
Now, I know you are student organized, but just recently there was an introduction of a new coach, Matt Rader. Can you kind of talk about him?
Yeah, so we are very fortunate to have him graciously help volunteer to really grow our program and help, teach us some fundamental ultimate frisbee. That's been a really cool process. He started with us early in the spring season, and he was able to come to a good chunk of our practices. And then really at the tournaments, it's hard to be a player and also a coach at the same time, which we had to do the season prior. And with him there, he can handle calling all of our offensive plays or defensive sets, or really just kind of keeping us with a pretty level-headed approach, which is hard to do when there's not a coach present. So adding him, I think, is really going to pay dividends, especially if we can go through a full recruiting season with the coach on board. I think that's going to maybe incentivize more prospective athletes to stick with our program because we do have a coach presence available.
How'd it go kind of shifting? You mentioned that a lot of the coaching came from the team internally. What was the power balance kind of shifting towards this new voice that you have to look to instead of just your peers? Was that a bit of a change for the team?
I would say so. I think it was tough a lot of coaches have the mindset of, you can hate me, but you can't hate each other. And when you're being coached by a player coach, you can't hate your player coach because it's your teammate. And so I think having a coach there really probably reduced some of the maybe bickering that would happen between players because, we're all organized really for a common goal, and the coach is helping us achieve that, as opposed to, feeling like you're having to be the discipliner and the person that decides playing time, and while also trying to, be on the field and be your best self.
So this is your second year in SIUE history going to regionals word. And I know, Jess, your first year, you came in and the team won something. How does that feel to sort of continue on to something like this?
I mean, it's like a good feeling for sure, coming onto a team that like is having success, but it does feel like a little cheap since like a lot of the people on the team had a year where it was like they didn't get a lot done, and then I just like happened to join at the right time. But like, yeah, it is fun coming to a team that like is still young, has had success, but still has like so much more to go. Because like, yeah, we have like goals that we still haven't hit, and like it'd be great if we could reach those.
And Evan, you've been here for a while. How does it feel to see that change and that jump?
It's really cool. Certainly, we still have a lot of room to grow, right? The ultimate goal for us is to reach the Nationals tournament that happens every season. And so really just identifying the baby steps that we have taken and not kind of getting lost in the illustrious goal at the end is really important because, I don't think necessarily last season ended how I wanted it to, but certainly just because we didn't reach the ultimate goal doesn't mean that all of those little successes along the way shouldn't be valued. And so for me, it's just trying to keep myself grounded and realizing that, Rome's not built in a day, and you have to, enjoy your successes along the way.
Yeah, so you don't ever look at Jesse and be like, you have no idea. The lows could get so much lower,
For
but,
sure.
but all he knows is success. The roof is so high, and I think that's the exciting thing. I mean, we're gonna look at the stats here, and it shows that there's a really good team, and like we were talking before the show. You guys really aren't losing much either. You have a lot of character coming back to contribute, so it's not like the record's going to get worse because you're losing a predominant player. What can you kind of just summarize the season in your guys' eyes? Like the success of it, how it felt to just be a winning team.
It definitely felt good. Last year, the kind of theme of the season was we're like the underdogs, and basically every team we played, they didn't know who we were, or they expected us to be bad. So every win felt really like valuable. Every win felt really good, no matter what the team was, no matter how we did. We were kind of proud of ourselves. But this year, after that first round of success, we had a little bit, I don't know if you could say pressure, but we had a little bit more expectations going in, and I think we delivered on that. We had some pretty good, valuable wins, and yeah, I think we held up our name pretty well, and even put our name out there even more, which I think was really good. And yeah, it didn't end how we wanted, but I think the entire season was definitely a success.
Yeah, and you guys played in quite a few. Are they tournament or events? Is that what they're called?
Tournaments.
Yeah, tournaments. There was the Bolt. In every one, you came out with a winning record, which I thought was pretty noticeable, especially starting off with the Bulldog Brawl was a 4-2 record. The Midwest Throwdown was a 5-2 record, and the Huck Finn was a 5-2 record, and then that kind of takes you into the postseason, I believe. So, I mean, overall, that's got to feel pretty good, going over 500 and against some notable teams. I wrote down just a few that caught my eye. Indiana, Vanderbilt, which ended with a win, Missouri, Alabama, which ended with a win. Kentucky went 1-for-1 with them. And then U of I, of course, and Northwestern. So that was just some of like the major schools that caught my eye, and I was like, oh my gosh, SIUE playing up against these guys. Everyone freaked out when men's basketball played Houston, but like, Ultimate Frisbee is playing the real top dogs. But no, like talk about just kind of going head to head with those kind of teams, and maybe you don't get the outcome you want, but the competition I'm sure is fun to play against.
Yeah, it's really cool. The thing about Ultimate is you can't, and really this applies to a lot of sports, you can't get into the bigger tournaments until you start building a brand for yourself, right? And so the year prior, we didn't even have the opportunity to play a lot of these larger name programs, which is kind of disappointing when you want to, play the best to become the best. And so last season really was a great opportunity to start seeing some of those bigger state schools or some schools that are more relevant on a national stage. And so we just want to take every opportunity that these tournament organizers give us and kind of turn those into even bigger opportunities, right? And so we're setting our sights next season on attending some really nationally relevant tournaments, hopefully some travel tournaments that are on either coast, and start facing teams that end up achieving what we want to achieve in the end. So
yeah, I think you'll definitely get the opportunity. I mean, you caught some of these major schools with their pants down, I think, a little bit, like just embarrassing them. It's true. I think everyone kind of thinks about like, oh, SIUE, and you mentioned it, oh, who are these kids from this 4-letter school? Never heard of it. Go back to your cornfields, But it's no, it's cool. It's cool to see a small or a medium-sized university, I should say, have success.
Yeah, our biggest competitor, I'd say, the team that I feel like, at least collectively, we're trying to take down, Illinois. They had a social media post advertising the game against us. I think they put USIE instead of SIUE. And
so that's insulting.
It wasn't enough to propel us to the win.
SIEU.
Something like that.
Wow. They really hate you guys. The new rivalry is born.
Now, please forgive me. I want to say it was you. Did you come from U of I?
Yeah, so I went to undergrad at U of I.
And you played on that team too,
Correct.
right?
So we had some
some
even deeper
tension because of
rivalries
that.
there.
Yeah, in preparing for this, I took notes that the U of I thing. And Audrey mentioned in her story that you wanted to bring that culture from their team here. Obviously, you went 0-2 against them this year. It's a burner a little bit, but I think it's also good. It gives you that fuel, that goal for the next.
Oh, yeah.
The next jump. Yeah, you can't see on the podcast, but
They're like on the edge of their seat.
Yeah. But talk about the culture at U of I and kind of how you transferred it here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the number one thing, especially with U of I, is they do a really good job of bonding as a team outside of team events, right? So they can have team socials or recruiting parties for their new players, and those are things that I think really keep people engaged and bought in. And if you have a club program that isn't giving out scholarships, there's really no other way to keep your players engaged other than making sure that they have a fun time. And making sure that they're coming back because they enjoy playing the sport and they enjoy the people they're playing with. And so really making sure that we establish events that we can, bond as a unit and really start to, grow together in chemistry and in friendship was really important. And then secondly, taking some of the concepts and things that I learned at Illinois and applying them and hopefully, diffusing them into the other players on the team was something that I was trying to do. And now, especially having a new coach that just came on board, we're adjusting some of those ideas. And maybe I'm learning that I think there might be other concepts that would apply to our team better than the concepts I used at Illinois. And so it's really just learning and growing and taking what I learned there and kind of using that as the launch pad and developing our own history.
So you can beat them next time.
That's the hope, yeah.
Now, we all know that SIUE had a great year in terms of athletics in general, and a lot of audience show out. How do you guys battle the curve of gaining interest from outside fans or just SIUE fans in general?
The highlight reel was a great way to show how cool Ultimate is. You can talk about that, Dillon?
Yeah, I really tried to make it like as interesting as possible. 14 minutes long is pretty long. Some people might lose interest, but I tried to really have fun with that. We also just really bought into recruiting this year. We had a lot of events. We attended all like the stuff that SIUE hosts for the club and stuff. And also we try to have an impact on the youth program. Evan here is a coach for the St. Louis club team, and that takes like all the best young players from the St. Louis area, and he can have an impact on them. And we just try to be involved with the youth and just other teams as well to kind of get our name out there.
Another player on our team coaches the EHS Frisbee team, so we have a few players on our team who are like coaching the high schoolers in either the St. Louis area or like Edwardsville High School.
And hopefully guiding them to SIUE,
hopefully,
as opposed to other.
Yeah, they're like an advocate, like shift over here with your talent. Well, I mean, that's kind of what you got to do when you don't have the recruitment resources as some of the other teams or other programs at other schools. For you guys, like personally, when you get prospective recruitments, what's that kind of like? How do you kind of keep them here? How do you draw that in? And I was going to ask you, like, is there a fear of, like, with success, is there a fear of losing people? And how do you hold interest with those people as well?
Yeah, I think especially for maybe athletes that found success in other sports and are looking for, a different athletic outlet in college, it's kind of a game of trying to show them how fun Ultimate is without, like, scaring them off with, we have practices 3 times a week and an optional event on these days, and really trying to show that, okay, you can do this passively and have fun, and then hopefully, wrap them up in Ultimate, and now they're ready to spend a lot of their free time training and working with the team. So it's not throwing too much at them at once.
Well, I guess I'll kind of wrap it up with this last question of what's your kind of call out to maybe potential fans that might be interested in watching you guys and supporting, or also players that are in high school or they're at another university, they're looking for kind of somewhere where they can thrive. What is your pitch to them, basically, for SIUE Ultimate Frisbee?
I would say my number one pitch, and this is kind of what attracted me to the program, is so many of these other programs already have a set history, right? And you're following in the footsteps of some greats from the school prior. For us, you get to really create your own history. This is the first truly regionally competitive and hopefully nationally competitive version of SIUE Ultimate. And so getting able to have your fingerprints on maybe the first SIUE to go to a national tournament would be really cool. And that was really an attractive idea for me. And that's why I joined the program.
Mine was probably going to be pretty similar to that. Is like, we are a young team that like has a lot of potential, and you could help like fuel that fire by coming here and like either just supporting from the sidelines or being on the team if you want to do that. So yeah, it's just like you could be a part of, like Evan said, like making SIUE Ultimate history.
I really like that idea. One thing I really enjoy about being part of this team is how there's not already, or at least there wasn't, like a crazy culture of winning. Because to me, it's almost like less interesting to join a team that's already at the highs and constantly get theirs. I really like the work ethic that we have to have. And this kind of goes to an earlier question, but like it's like a family, our team, and it's just an awesome part to be of, and like to create that winning culture and to know that you're part of that. And yeah, we also have good grad school, so if you're a grad
You heard it here first,
Yeah.
SIUE, good grad school. You also heard it here first that this team could be on pace for a national push, so keep an eye on SIUE Ultimate Frisbee. Audrey, do you have any final thoughts for this group?
No final thoughts, but after talking with them and really opening my eyes to SIUE Ultimate, I say you guys should pop out. Watch that 14-minute reel.
Yes.
Best 14 minutes of your life.
Yeah.
Pop it up on the toilet. I don't care what you do. Watch it.
Follow the gram.
Follow at SIUE Ultimate on Instagram. That is my final thought.
All right. Well, with that, we will just close it out there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this week's episode of Alestletics. Next week, we will have no podcast, so take a break. Enjoy your weekend. But the week after that, we will be back with Alestle After Hours, which you can catch me there with two random guests. We don't know who they're going to be yet, but we'll figure that out by then. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you.
Bye.
Bye.